What's up, everyone? It's Ariel, the licensed mental health counselor, and I am back with another video. This video, we are back to playing Unpacking again. And just like before, this game is literally about unpacking boxes in different places. Every week, I just try to bring out different topics that I feel are important to be able to get out there while using casual gaming to kind of be able to create it as a conversation. I'm going to continue to put the content out there, and whatever it gravitates to but I enjoy the feedback, the conversation, and whatever input you guys have. So let's start the game and see if we can get into our topic for today. So of course, while I am putting this information out there, I do have notes, so I will look down occasionally just to be able to refer my notes so I know in what structure I would like to go to, and I remember what information I would like to get out there, right? Okay, so it looks like we're back in the same apartment, but it looks like she upgraded some stuff, got some furniture, and all that jazz. So there is some boxes for us to take care of. So let's do that while getting into our topic for today. So for today, I really wanted to get into why it's important to have your alone time, and to kind of just get into what does that mean, why it's important to be alone at certain periods in your life, or just in general, of being able to appreciate time that you have by yourself, and what does that mean, right? So the first thing I want to explain is, what is solitude? Spending time alone without feeling lonely. Your company is enough to fill your needs, something you choose because you value your time and your energy. And this is very important because we get wrapped up so much in day-to-day life and tasks and everything that we have to do, that I think people forget that we need to spend time by ourselves. Spending time by yourself is very, very important, and it's important on the sense of the value of being alone with your thoughts and emotions is frequently overlooked. Sometimes people don't want to address things, so they avoid spending time by themselves, and they, go out a lot, or they're around people all the time, and it's comforting for them, but the fear stops them from addressing the things that they've been running from. When we're alone, we have a lot of time to think. We have a lot of time to think about the things that we've been doing, and if we want to change those things, or how we see the way that things are going right now. And I think for a lot of people that can be scary, which it's normal, it happens. But I don't want that to stop people from taking the time to spend that time alone. It's very important to spend time alone so you can gather your thoughts and, again, enjoy the time that you have, and be able to feel recharged and get back to feeling better and doing what you have to do for yourself, but with a healthy mindset. So just quickly, the difference of being alone and being lonely, I think, should really be highlighted here. I think that people don't understand the value of being alone because they're afraid of loneliness. But sometimes it's okay to be by yourself and appreciate that alone time. You can be lonely even in the presence of being around other people. And I've heard that before too, around people who have their own personal issues going on. There's so much going on that they try to be around people to hopefully that'll make their mood feel better. But in the end, if you think about it, the whole time that they're spending time with people, they're still feeling alone. They're not really feeding their souls being around a large group of people. And I think people have to understand too that sometimes it's okay to take that time by yourself, and for you to just be able to enjoy that time alone, and understand that it's okay to feel that way, and there's nothing wrong with spending time by yourself and being by yourself, right? So you can also be alone without having feelings of loneliness. There are people who really appreciate their time by themselves, and they have no problem with it, and they don't feel the need to be around people. And I think for some people it's hard for them to understand that concept, especially if they've never had that. But there are also some people who crave that because they're so used to being around people all the time, that they sort of wish that they would be able to have that time to spend by themselves, but it doesn't always work out that way, right? So with that being said, what is the difference between being alone and being lonely? Um, Loneliness involves being isolated despite wanting social connections. And being alone means taking time for yourself between regular social interactions. And I think that's very important to distinguish, because we could have a lot of friends and, enjoy the time around them. But, sometimes we need to take time for ourselves and recharge our social battery. Sometimes we're too caught up in everybody, and we tend to forget to take care of ourselves. And it's not fair to us, and I'm not saying that we do it on purpose, but it's important to realize when we do need to take that time by ourselves, and understand that there's a difference between us taking that time to recharge and being alone, than from us being lonely and not having anyone around us and being secluded from everybody, right? There's a big difference when it comes to those two things. But again, it's important to take that time by yourself, but especially to be able to take those breaks from everybody and enjoy your own company, and use that as a time to uh, get with yourself and understand who you are as a person, and what you want to be around, and what you expect in life, right? So that takes us into our first topic when it comes to being lonely. you know why is spending time alone important? And like I said before, when it comes to spending time by yourself, it's important because sometimes you need those moments. Like, can you imagine being a parent, being a single parent? You don't really have time by yourself, especially when you don't have a lot of that support system that you had before. So, it's important for you to be able to take that time alone, but unfortunately you don't have that luxury. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is that they don't have the luxury to be able to take the time off, or do it as frequently as they would like to. So sometimes it gets neglected, and that's understandable. But I think once you realize it, it's important to try and figure out how you can make it happen, right? So first thing would be, spending time alone is important because it allows you to know yourself. The more alone time you give yourself, the more you become more comfortable with your own company. So you get to self-explore and consider your own needs and desires and interests. You solve problems without, thinking about how other people are going to judge you. You're able to make decisions on things without needing the input of other people. And I think that's important, because a lot of people rely heavily on other people's opinions. And we have to understand at the end of the day that this is our life, and we can't sit here and rely on other people to make the decisions for us. And we need to feel comfortable and confident in our decisions, and understand that we want to make this decision for ourselves because that's what we need, and it's not because someone is telling us that this is the right thing for us to do. And ultimately you end up working towards the person that you want to be, without that judgment in your face and people questioning you and trying to figure out what's going on. You don't have a lot of that self-doubt, and you honestly take the time to process your thoughts and try to figure out what is it that you would like to do, right? The other thing, like I said before, would be you get to recharge. As simple as that may sound, it is so important. Like I said before, we get caught up in so many daily, day-to-day tasks that I think we forget how important it is to just take time to yourself, and take time to just, be able to take a break away from work and the regular routine, because that can become very, very exhausting, especially if you are waking up early every single day just trying to make it to work and do everything that you're supposed to do. It becomes exhausting. And everybody deserves the right to take off. Even I take off. There are times when therapists need a mental break and we need to recharge. So of course we'll take some days off, or we'll have to cancel the day before, whatever the case may be. But it's essential that you know that you need to take care of yourself first before you decide to take care of other people. And in order to do that, you need time alone. And that means taking that time to recharge and investing in yourself and doing the things that you like, because it improves your mood and it lowers your stress level. These are important things to be able to get out of the regular tasks that we're constantly doing on a weekly basis. The other reason why spending time alone is important is because your relationships become more meaningful. You're more aware of what people you want around you and what you would like to bring to the table, and you're able to identify what people want and what you need from other people. If you don't know what you bring to the table and you don't know what you would like from others, it's going to be kind of hard for you to have a healthy relationship, because you're not able to let your partner or your friends or whomever know why you're feeling this way or what is it that you need from the relationship, because you're just coming in expecting for that person to give you everything that you need. But sometimes when we take the time to be with our thoughts and be with ourselves, it gives us the sense to really just think about, okay, what is it that I want in a relationship? Why do I want to be in a relationship? What can I give in a relationship if I decide to get into one? Because I think that's important too, that we understand that, relationships take time, and a lot of times we don't know what we want, and that does cause a lot of issues. So if we just take the time to be able to be with ourselves and spend that time alone, then we can really look and think, okay, what is it that I truly need in a relationship, and what is it that I want from a partner in a relationship? And then also, what can I give to the relationship, so I know that I'm also contributing to it, and it's not just one person giving in everything, and that's important for us to be able to identify. It also comes with the fact of being able to make better decisions about your boundaries, and making sure that your relationships are healthy. If you're not self-aware and you don't know what's happening with your own self, how are you going to be able to identify what's healthy in your own relationship? And this is very important, because this is when people get taken advantage of, or you stay long in a situation that you weren't expecting to be in, because you're not able to identify when it's time for you to leave, and what you will accept, what you won't accept, and what your boundaries are when it comes to those relationships. So again, this is why it's important to spend time alone, right? And the last thing would be that it's good for your mental health, just period. Like I said before, I take days off too, because I need that mental break. I need to be able to take a break from trying to help other people. And it's good for me to just take that mental break to recharge, to even take the time to be able to just educate myself when I take these breaks. It gives me time to worry about other things that I've been putting on the back burner, and to be able to see what I can do when I decide to get back to work and doing what I gotta do, right? When it comes to it being good for your mental health, it lets you exist without normal expectations, right, that come with daily life. And it decreases your anxiety and depressive thoughts. We're anxious all the time. And I think for a lot of people, taking breaks in daily life and taking the time to do everything that you enjoy and stepping back from your regular routine definitely gives you the chance to be able to lower anxiety, enjoy positive and healthy activities that can bring down your anxious thoughts and make you feel just a little bit better about life and just in general, right? Now the next thing would be the challenges and struggles of being alone. Now I can say go and be alone, but I think for some people it's a little bit challenging, and it's hard for them to understand the concept of to why it's important. But I think for some people, they know it's important and they know it's something that they have to do, but they struggle with it, and that's normal, right? So the first thing would be the fear of being alone. Some people, depending on who they are as a person or what they've been through, some people are afraid to be alone just based off of their previous history, their traumas, what they've been through. Some people don't know how to be alone and feel okay about that. And it's not their fault, it's just what they've been through. And the ways that they've been coping is they're always around other people. And for them, it's hard for them to be by themselves. And I can completely understand that. It definitely gives you that disconnection from social stimulation, and it can make someone feel detached or disconnected, And a lot of people are not okay with sitting with that. You know, it's a struggle for them. They don't know what that even means, and they don't find that comforting. And I think it takes a lot of practice and a lot of time to be able to get comfortable. But at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to get there if you don't at least try. So definitely at least take the time to settle into your fears, but not letting it take over you at the point that you don't even take the time to at least try and work through that fear, right? So yes, fear of being alone is a thing, but I don't think that that should stop you from at least trying to be by yourself, right? And understanding what that feeling means. Another challenge for some people would be that they overthink. So for a lot of people, they overthink and they have a lot of distressing thoughts and feelings. And when they take the time to be by themselves, it gives them the time to reflect on those thoughts and feelings. And can you imagine going through life and not addressing certain things? And when you finally take the time to be off, that's what you're thinking about. So now you're like super anxious because you've been putting these thoughts in the back burner for a while now. But what can you do with it, right? This is when it's very important to understand why you're having those thoughts, work through those thoughts, and figure out what is it that you can do when it comes to those thoughts. It's very, very important, right? Those thoughts are not going to go away unless you address them, or you talk to somebody about them, or you just try to figure out where are those thoughts coming from and how we're going to be able to get you to a point where it's not an issue for you anymore. Because I think that's part of the issue is that doesn't go there. Some people will run away from these thoughts because they don't want to address them. And to be honest, they don't know what to do with them. And that is completely normal. But to continue running away from them is not going to make them leave. And you might as well just learn how to address it than to sit there and continue trying to run away from it. Because once again, it's not healthy for you, right? So the next challenge or struggle would be the social stigma around being alone, right? A lot of times people don't want to be alone because they're worried about how it's going to look towards other people. Like as far as them not having friends and what that looks like, or being seen out by themselves. People are worried about how other people are going to perceive them, like, wow, you came out by yourself and you don't have anybody to go out with. Like a lot of people do worry about that. And that comes a lot with the social anxiety piece. You know, a lot of people don't do certain things because they're worried about how other people are going to perceive them. And in all honesty, I mean, I get it. But as you work through your own issues, you start to realize that a lot of the things that we think about and we worry about is not necessary. But we overthink it and we think about it a lot because we make it an issue. And we make it a lot for us to be able to move through those thoughts, right? It's easy to be able to get up and go out and do what you need to do if you are confident in yourself and you're okay and you feel secure in who you are and what is it that you need to do. But if you don't have that and you're always worried about what other people are thinking, it's going to be very hard for you to go out and do things alone because you're worried about how you're going to perceive from other people, and that's not comfortable and it's not something that you want to keep going through in your life. So, you know, taking the time to be alone and understanding those feelings and being able to work through that stigma and understand that, you know, regardless of what you do, people are always going to judge you. They're always going to have comments. So why not go and enjoy the things that you want to do? And if someone doesn't like it, they don't like it. But at the end of the day, it's your life and you want to be comfortable with doing the things that you like, regardless if someone's there with you or not, or regardless of what you're going to look like. Because again, at the end of the day, this is your life and you have to be able to be happy. And it's not fair that you have to sacrifice your happiness for someone else because you're worried about what that person is going to think about you. Because at the end of the day, I highly doubt that that person is even worried about what you're going to think about them, right? And I guess the last thing would be like how I spoke on before is the challenge or the struggle of having past traumas or just anxiety of being by yourself. There are a lot of people that have had bad things happen to them in the past when they were by themselves, or there are people who associate being alone with something bad happening or whatever the case may be. Like, an anxiety of it comes from not knowing what to do with yourself when you're alone, right? Taking the time to plan, like, okay, I know I'm gonna be alone, or I'm actually taking the time to be by myself. What is it that I would like to do during my alone time? That way, I'm not super, super anxious, and I'm aware that I'm taking this alone time to do this and to do that, and that's what the time is going to be taken up for, right? So, yes, we know that the anxiety is going to be there, but we can do a lot of things beforehand to be able to get us to that point where being alone and the process of being alone, or the thought of being alone that's coming up, is not going to be so anxious for us because we have something planned, and that alone time is needed and we're aware of that, right? So the next thing would be signs that you need some alone time. Sometimes people aren't even able to notice that they might need time by themselves, right? So one of the things would be you feel like you're constantly on the go and never have time for yourself. And I said this before, like, you get into that process of constantly just going to work, picking up the kids, doing this, doing that, going to bed, doing it all over again. Until the weekend hits, and I'm sure by the time you get to the weekend, you have your own tasks that you need to do then, because that's the only time that you really get to complete certain errands. And that makes complete sense. It's true, but if you are able to schedule time to be by yourself, I would say definitely go for it and be able to do that, especially if you're always on the go. See if you can plan an extra day, in the next couple of weeks or something, to take the time off from being in that routine, because just looking forward to the weekend is our reality, yes, but if you are able to take the time and plan it ahead, at least when you're working through those weeks, you have a day to look forward to where you can be off, if you're able to do that, right? The other thing would, you feel like you are constantly giving to others and not to yourself. This is another big thing that I spoke about in my previous video about boundaries. If we're constantly giving and giving and giving to other people and we're not taking the time for ourselves, how are we going to continue to be able to help someone? If we continue to work on everybody else, but we never take the time to work for ourselves, in the end, how is that going to work out? I don't think it's going to work out that well, because your energy is not going to be there for yourself. And how are you going to be able to, feed into someone when you barely have the energy for yourself, right? So that's very, very important, to take the time to be alone and, get that energy back and fuel back into yourself. That way you're able to provide support and, be there for other people, and making sure that you are 100% healthy and making sure that you're taking care of yourself, right? And so the next thing would be, you feel like you're losing touch with yourself and your sense of identity. I think this is important too, because again, we get caught up in so many things and we honestly just forget that we need to take time for ourselves so that we don't lose ourselves in the moment or in certain situations. It's important that we look at ourselves and know, hey, I've done so much. I don't even know what's going on right now. Let me just take a moment, a day or two, to be able to gather my thoughts, to be able to rest, to be able to indulge in the things that I haven't had the time to do. Why? Because it's important, and it's important to feed yourself. And I feel like if you're going to put your time into other people, you should be able to at least give some time to yourself first, right? Or even just in general, just giving time to yourself so that you can also give time to others. And the last thing would be, you feel like you're not living the life you want to live. I know in life we are required to do certain things, and this comes with being an adult and getting a job and going to school and doing all these things that we're supposed to do. But at the end of the day, you get to a point where you have goals, you have aspirations, you have dreams, and there are certain things that you want to get to. And the only way to get there is to be able to, of course, be goal oriented and strive to be successful in these things. But how are you going to be able to get there if you were not taking the time for yourself to be able to recharge and be able to look at what those goals are and to see, okay, how can I get to the life that I want to get to? Because at this point, I've just been on the hamster wheel of doing everything that I'm supposed to do, but I know the life that I want, and I can't get there if I keep doing the same things that I want to do. So let's take some time and, be by ourselves and figure out what is the plan for us to be able to get to the place that we want to be, right? And so that takes me to our last topic when it comes to being alone, right? How to start spending time alone. As easy as I may say it, like before, it may not be as easy for you to start doing it. You don't know where to start, where to begin, what to do, right? So just a couple of things to put into your mind when you start thinking about how can I start spending time by myself, right? So the first thing would be to pick a time, plan it just like you would with anything else. And if you're planning a date, if you're planning time to spend with family, anything like that, you pick a time. So why not do the same thing with being alone? It doesn't have to be on a weekly basis. You could pick a time next week. But if you have the luxury of doing a weekly basis, pick a time, I don't know, on the weekend. Pick a time at the end of the day and be like, okay, listen, I'm going to put every Friday night at 6 o'clock until I go to bed. I'm going to take that time to be able to read a book, watch my favorite show, do the things that I like, and making sure that you identify where that place is, whether it's in your own home or if you're somewhere else and you want to go to a different spot and spend that time. But then also making sure that you let other people know that this is your alone time so they don't disturb you. I think that's important too, and that comes with boundaries. Making sure that people are aware that you're taking this time to spend by yourself and recharge, and you don't need any more distractions. So, I'm taking the time to be by myself. Of course, if there's an emergency, you can reach out to me. But right now, give me the space to be able to do what I need to do, right? And I think, family and friends should be able to understand that. It might be kind of hard for them to get used to that, but it's very, very important that you take the time for yourself and at least letting your family know that this is why you're spending time by yourself, because you need to recharge. You gotta do this, you gotta do that, right? So again, just to bring back from the last time, all the things that are flashing red are all the things that I need to go back and fix, so that they are in the right spot so I can finish the level of the game. So the next thing would be turning off social media. I know we want to document everything, but it is very important that when you take time to yourself that you are turning off your social media. As comforting as it may be to spend time alone and scroll on your phone, you already do that on a regular basis. So why not take the time to get off your phone for once and get away from all the negativity that social media may bring. Even if it's not negative, and as a person that your feed is positive, sometimes it's good to just take a break from the constant rush of being compared to others and seeing what other people are going through in their life. I think it's just important to step away from those expectations of social media and eliminate that distraction, and being able to focus on your own thoughts and your own interests without the influence of others. Even though we say we're not being influenced by other people, I think when we are afraid to take the time by ourselves by stepping away from the social media, I think that's where the issue lies, because then it's a problem when you realize that you can't even take a moment away from social media, right? We should be able to take that break and be comfortable with taking that break. The next thing would be to plan something, like I said before. Not everyone is comfortable with spending time by themselves, It'll be helpful for you to plan something that's relaxing, maybe like exploring a hobby that you, like I've said before, that something that you've been interested in, but you just keep putting it on the back burner. or even reading a book, going to the movies, going for a walk, taking yourself out to dinner, everything that you said that you wanted to do, or even things that you feel like would be more enjoyable by yourself because you're so used to doing it with other people. I think that's important to recognize too. You know, I enjoy going shopping when I'm by myself more than when I'm with other people. So I'm gonna plan a day where I can go shopping, where I can be by myself, and I don't have to worry about other people, you know, disrupting my time, asking me when are we leaving, what's gonna happen, how long do we have. Like, none of that stuff makes the experience enjoyable. So plan something that you would enjoy doing by yourself that you don't usually get to do by yourself, or things that you've pushed to the side, like I've said before, or just in general, things that you enjoy, and actually getting the time to sit down and do them without being rushed or without other people being around. And the last thing would be, and this is very, very important, is to learn the value of solitude, which is the value of being by yourself. And this can contribute to a lot of things, you know, again, taking the time to be by yourself, but I think also taking the time to understand that it's okay to be alone. When we go through certain relationships, I think people have a hard time being single. That contributes to being alone. Sometimes we need to take that time to listen to our thoughts and, you know, try and figure out what is it that we need. What do we learn from this relationship? What do we learn from this friendship? Whatever it is that may occur, what is it that we learn that we feel like that we can take with us into the next relationship, but then also identify that, yes, this relationship, I learned this, I learned that, whatever. Let me just take some time to be single so I can love myself and love who I am as a person, and know that, you know, whether I'm in a relationship or not, I'm okay with being by myself. All right, so as we finish up this video, again, being alone is very important. And just because you're spending time by yourself to be alone doesn't necessarily mean that you are lonely, you know? We have to understand that it's okay to be by yourself, and understand that it's important to spend time by yourself, you know, whether that's doing the tasks that we don't take the time to do, reading a book that we've been saying that we want to read, doing a hobby that we've been putting on the back burner because we're scared of it. Whatever the case may be, try and push through those fears, you know, push through the awkwardness, push through the discomfort. I know it can be very uncomfortable, but it is so, so, so important to be able to acknowledge those feelings, work through them. That way, as time goes on, you understand that you're okay with being by yourself. And it can be difficult, yes, and you don't have to be by yourself, but understand that it's okay. And when those moments do come around, that you're comfortable with that, and that you're good with that, because you don't want your happiness to be only fulfilled when there's people around. We're not always going to have people around us, and we have to understand that us being by ourselves is okay, and what can we do with that time, and understand whatever we decide to do in that time will be beneficial for us, right? So as I've always said, please like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the feedback from everybody. I appreciate the support. This is still something new to me, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing the content, and I'm gonna try and keep doing it on a weekly basis. But regardless, the content is still going to continue to be pushed out there, and I just enjoy the feedback of everyone. So again, thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.